I'd like to share something about my quest to find meaningful work, um, and how I'm working now as growing food for my local community, um, and and how like that's I feel very privileged to be doing such such a service to help others, and how for myself it's something that is it's very satisfying, and I feel lucky to to be able to do such a satisfying service to others, and I wanted to compare and contrast like this kind of vocation with um, with um, with my situation. Well, quite a lot of years ago, but when I was working in a warehouse, and it was a huge warehouse, and I had a job there, which was to you had loads of shelves, like they were lettered A, B, C, D, E, and there must have been at least 26 of them. It was a massive warehouse in Penwortham. Was it Bamber Bridge? Bamber Bridge it was. And then along the shelf there was numbers, like one. It must have gone to at least 50, 1 to 50. It was massive. But my job was I got a bit of paper, and it said on the paper, it said like A16 move to S23, like that, and then that would be the first task, and the next task was P23 to D59, something like that, and then it was just a list of that was my day's work, just moving these boxes, put them on your pallet truck, shuggle them along, and put them in the other place, just getting the place organised. And yeah, that was the thing. You didn't know what was in the boxes, never knew what was in them, and yeah, and it was I mean, I understand that, like, the kind of the way our society is set up and the way it operates, with large economies of scale, and large things produced in large volumes, and then things need to be organized, and the result, the result of that is that there is repetitive, kind of seemingly meaningless, laborious work involved in as a like intrinsic kind of component of that process, and this kind of society, the methodology of this society in which we live. So I understand that that's it is kind of a necessity. And okay, yeah, like the invention of more kind of mechanization and robots, you can argue is a labor saving like savior for this kind of work. But at the same time, I want to kind of contrast the kind of lifestyle that I'm privileged to live now, which is one of a more localized economy, where okay, well, it's a small community of about 40 adults and children, families and single people, and so about 40 individuals. We live as a community, especially during this lockdown period, where we're more of a community, whereas before we might have gone here and there, out and about, doing different things. We're more of a community under the lockdown, but yeah, so to some degree, there's more of a local economy. So I mean, I remember when I was working in that warehouse, and that was when I just it was kind of a draining experience, to be in that warehouse, day after day, and I don't like these kind of warehouses anyway, because just one thing that I don't like is just because there's no windows. There's no windows, and you don't know if it's day or night, and it's all. It just seems so like an artificial environment, you know. But but at the same time, I understand there's a necessity for these kind of facilities, to process goods and products, in the society in which we live. But personally, yeah, I have a negative reaction to those what I just feel are unnatural situations and unnatural locations. I mean, the thing is that even in the local production of vegetables, there's still repetition and laborious tasks to be performed, which myself, I also have to perform those tasks. In the production of food, things like weeding and I mean, if you're growing a large quantity of food, then the same food like on an industrial farm, miles and miles of like cauliflowers, then the work is obviously it's more repetitive and more more laborious, whereas on a small scale production, then tasks are naturally more varied. So what I'm all for is this kind of is the like more localized small scale production of food, which is consumed locally, and which necessitates, like the whole range of food, varieties of food. Um, all your varieties of vegetables, cauliflowers, cabbages, Brussels sprouts, potatoes, beans, um, everything, tomatoes, kale, so there's all different varieties. Yeah, so on the one hand, you've got, sort of like working in factories, then you've got working on industrial farms. Okay, you're working outside. You could say it's more natural, and it's healthier. It could be healthier for the body and healthier for the mind. But also, working outside also has its you're in the weather, it's tiring and cold, etc. But then you've got working on a local community farm. But the thing is that the work that I do as a an organic vegetable grower, uh, it, in the society in which we live, and it's a sad fact, but it isn't economically viable. I mean, we're acting in the capacity as a charity. We have to uh, beg for donations from the public in order to continue this lifestyle, and we acknowledge with gratitude the donations of the public to support this project. Um, with the intention that we're demonstrating a more natural way of life, a more peaceful and simple way of life, which we want to export. We want to export this lifestyle, and although we have to acknowledge it is economically unviable in the context of the wider society in which we live, but that isn't the fault of this particular way of living. It's actually the fault of the greater context of this, how to describe market economy, capitalistic, very economically centered, economically driven um, system in which our more natural and peaceful, community farm is set. Anyway, yeah, I'd very much like to express my gratitude to everyone who has ever donated to this project. Anyone who's ever given and I used to be for at least 8 years, I was a fundraiser, and we'd ask people for donations in the streets. We'd like to thank every single person who's ever given even just a penny towards this project. We'd like to acknowledge all of you and thank you most sincerely for supporting this project. Even the people who, when I was out fundraising, who didn't give a donation but at least gave a smile, or some people who just gave us a high five. We'd like to thank you for giving us a high five to keep us motivated on the street when so many people weren't giving. Even anyone who gave a smile, we want to express our gratitude towards all of you. And as well, I'd also like to thank my spiritual teachers, and I'd like to thank the senior devotees who have run this community, and dedicated their lives to sustaining and organising this community. I'd like to thank, mentioning the spiritual teachers, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who was a monk who came from India over to the West in the 1960s and 70s, and his ideas for community farming were he was inspired from his younger life. He was born in 1896, so in his younger life he was a supporter of Gandhi, and although he philosophically disagreed with Gandhi's interpretation of God, whether God is a person or an impersonal force, he disagreed philosophically, but he very much appreciated and endorsed and took on Gandhi's ideas about village economics and self-sustainable community farms. So I'd really like to express my appreciation to Srila Prabhupada for his vision in bringing those Gandhian ideas and putting them, slap bang in the middle of Western countries. We'd like to acknowledge that. I'd like to thank all the members and the pioneers of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness for all the contributions that they make to the society and to society at large to try and bring about a more peaceful and a more healthy, a more happier and more natural way of life. So thank you very much. Thank you.